if you look at the orchestrations of Mastro, what is happening is you are trying to automate a process, right? But usually in industry, right, we deal on the basis of case, right? Say for example, somebody submitted a loan request, or somebody submitted a invoice for invoice dispute, right? So we cater those on the basis of characteristics of one particular case, not the entire process itself. So going forward, if you go, I can showcase you examples as well. But what UiPath is trying to do is bringing those gaps which exist into the BPM industry, because traditionally UiPath don't have those capabilities where you can work on the case to solve the business problem. So now you would have instances where you should be able to cater need of a case using the good UI built automatically. You don't need to build that app, right? Other new feature that UiPath is currently working upon is lot of us having a difficulty with this low-code, no-code UiPath apps tools, because they don't have final control over if I want to showcase my button as a green or button as an orange, right? So every time you have to do a change, you have to go to different screens and click on some buttons and click and do and whatnot, right? Also, let's take example that you don't have UiPath Action Center, or you have UiPath Action Center, but you want your actions to be embedded into your enterprise application itself, not into the Action Center. You do not want your business user to go into Action Center to perform certain tasks, right? And this is a very trivial problem, because a lot of organizations are using, for example, ServiceNow for their already approval flow, or maybe some other tool, right? So UiPath has come up with another SDK which is called UiPath TypeScript SDK. So with the help of TypeScript SDK, you should be able to build and consume all the resources of UiPath inside UiPath TypeScript SDK. So I can give you a real quick example. Recently I have participated into UiPath Hackathon, which is the coded hackathon, right? So we have built a UI using the UiPath TypeScript SDK. Without calling the UiPath API, we are interacting with data services, orchestrator, queues, storage bucket, context grounding, everything with the SDK. I'll really showcase you a quick example how it looks like. So I don't know if you have seen that few features here. So sorry. Deepak. What I'm talking about. So, with the help of those who are developers, or those who prefer to build everything from scratch using code, or they do have some experience in building some front-end application, they should be able to utilize this TypeScript SDK. And using this TypeScript SDK, you should be able to build the entire set of things that you do on orchestrator. So you should be able to build your own orchestrator using SDK. That's not good to do, because why to invent the wheel again, right? But by using this, you should be able to communicate with every entity that exists in orchestrator. So you want to create a queue item, you want to create entry into data storage, or a storage bucket, or a context grounding. That's doable, right? And so with this, there are a couple of other questions that have been asked by the team sitting, people sitting here, is how we can bring your own model into UiPath orchestrator, right? Because a lot of companies have their own licensing, right? They are already subscribed to UiPath Azure, GPT. Some of them are using Azure, right? So how you can bring those models into UiPath rather than consuming the model provided by the UiPath, right? So there are options. It depends on type of platform that you are, right? So now, as the licensing is changing, right? We are moving toward the unified licensing where everything will be built on the basis of the services you consume. like a prepaid meter, right? So every product, let's say example that you buy a bundle of 60K, right? And with buying that bundle, that will be equivalent to $60,000, right? And each agent, every time you run or use the agent, it will be cost around 20 cents. Similarly, if you use other product, it will be like 20 cents, 10 cents, 5 cents. So it will be unified model. For every product, you will be charged according to the usage of the platform, right? And that's where some of the features like the case or Astro will also come into the same licensing model consumption. It is already live for the new users or a new enterprise which is coming up. But if you are still on Flex still uses the same concept of bundling. So for the Flex model, you have to use the bundle, but for the new, you can go for the unified model. Any questions on UiPath Agentic? Anything you want to ask, feel free to ask. Anyone having any questions? Any questions, guys? Anyone? Please.
We have already deployed UiPath solutions like on SAP or non-SAP platforms.
Yeah.
Now, agentic AI is in place and you have to implement it. So, what is the best way so that it does not, break anything which is already deployed and is implemented with ease for these already deployed projects?
So you want to basically what you're trying to say here is you already have a RPA automation, right? And you wanted to explore a way through which you should be able to improvise utilizing the AI engines, right? There is a very common myth in industry in terms of what is agentic AI, right? Some people have very thin line of differences between agentic workflow, agentic automations, and agentic AI, right? And every use case that is today may not fit into agentic AI, right? So it depends on how you want to evolve your process to solve the problem which is not solved today by RPA, right? Let's take example that you have a use case, right? Invoice processing use case. And in that invoice processing use case, there are multiple ways to do it, right? You can utilize the OCRs, you can also utilize the LLMs, or you can use the LLM which is more powerful with the test, OCR plus LLM, right? Now in all while down, what you want to get return from that process. So if you have good ROI and you think that some of the problems are still not solved, then you can try it. But if your RPA is working and it is intended to do what it's supposed to do, then there is no need to change. Right? So that's how you can take approach. Everything just for the sake of moving to agentic is not required.
Okay, so prior to implementing the agentic AI, we must brainstorm and select this use case so that we don't waste.
Because see here, right? Just for the sake of simplicity that we don't need to do things in a hard way. It doesn't mean that it will be fruitful for you and your business, right? Because many times you write a prompt and it generates a code. But effort it required to move that into production is very, very different. Very, very different. So I was reading one of the article from C.H. Robinson. They are one of the largest logistic providers in USA. So what they did is they enabled all their developers to utilize Copilot. Okay, and they asked them to create a use cases. So many of their developers built a lot of use cases within 3-4 days. Within 3-4 days, many of them are able to create end-to-end agent solutions, right? And now, when they selected few of them to move into production, it took approximately 3 months to move that into production. Why? Because sometimes it looks very shiny and it looks very easy to build that, but you don't know how to operate because some of the things like governance, evaluation, and performance matrices are not well measured today. So it's not only about the building part, but it's also about how you evolve your prototype from prototype to tested, well tested, and then move to the production ready application. So moving anything from prototype to testing is easy, but from testing to production it takes a lot of effort. And a lot of organizations are still not yet there where they have right set of governance model, what agent can do and what agent cannot do. Right? Yeah. Next question, and we have some queries. What's your name?
Yeah. So one side we are saying UiPath is no code and low code.
Yeah.
Another side, we are making coded agents,
So,
coded workflows.
this is a very traditional problem with UiPath. So I don't know if you remember, way back in 20s, right? Way back in 2020, so they stopped the support for CSAR. And I was the one who was very effectively using CSAR to writing activities. And that time I have approx 100 plus activity written in a CSAR. And they stopped it. Because that time, the goal and the need and how the industry was evolving is towards making the low code and drag and drop easier, right? But that's not the case today. Why? Because, I mean, we just need a screenplay, right? The screenplay is nothing. It is a large action model. At the background, it is a large action model. This is not possible 3 years ago because there was no large action model, right? So, as the industry has evolved, what UiPath is trying to do is, UiPath is trying to solve the problem which cannot be only solved with the low-code no-code, right? Just take example of building an agent which actually does, lot of research work and lot of, intelligence outside application, right? So when you have to connect to ecosystem of different applications, right? In any enterprise, you have more than 100 applications, right? And if you have to do that, many times there exists an API, or there exist their own connectors, right? Some of the connectors are available on UiPath, some of the tools are available on UiPath, but everything cannot be achieved. To achieve that and open the world for everyone else in the world to use it, they have to go this. MyPay is example, right? And this SDK is another example. Why they are coming with this type of SDK? So that the people who are using the coded approach to solve their problems, they can still leverage the UiPath.
But what I mean is, whatever you want to put it to, you can see it through.
Yeah. It already works. Yeah. I can give many examples.
The idea was to use an API, use an API to actually make it manipulate the files inside that, based on that, it does it. The problem was that the UiPath integration service was not updated in the latest time required to the So in that case, I had to make a solution. So what I did was I used code essentially to achieve the same. So in that particular situation, code based solution. So these are workarounds and sometimes things take time when we check to start. So that's why code cannot be reduced.
Under the hood is API. You are not writing that. That's it. We are not writing. It's API. So what it is doing is abstracting you. So say for example, if you are using the SDK, you have to create items. All you need to do is UiPath.sdk.q.add. That's it. And then you pass the format in which it takes the So you don't need to worry about how the another thing would be API keep changing, right? Or so you don't need to worry about it. The responsibility of UiPath developer to keep that intact with the legacy plus the developer. It doesn't break even if you switch between the different versions. So that's the abstraction layer they are doing. Under the hood, the code that they have written is actually for an API. It's all actually
like from the introduction to agents, we are actually at a point where we are letting do agents think from on our behalf, right? So, like to follow with the context, I also hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, from a cultural perspective, where would we draw the line on autonomy? Actually, we are at a point where we are letting agents do things from on our behalf based on context. We are letting them make decisions. So from a leadership perspective, where would you draw the line on the floor? Yeah, this is almost
So, this is the example that presented to hackathon, okay? And I'll answer your questions by taking the learnings of this one. So many times when we say agent, right, it looks like that will write one prompt and my agent will be done, or it will have some tool. But if you try to see the enterprise use cases, they are not actually so simple. Many times you have to interact with the different systems, and also you need to have different model for different types of actions you need to take, right? So why I'm bringing this example here is, in this you can see that there is a main orchestrator agent, and then there are different agents. These are the different agents, right? Each agent having a different models, right? So they are not, all of them are not using chat GPT. Some of them are using Azure. Some of them are using, DeepSeek. Reason being, so for example, if I need to do a test summarization, why I need a heavy model with a 7 billion parameters? I don't need that, right? So those kind of things are not easily available and configurable when you do with a low-code drag and drop. So in those cases, every time what you have to do is you have to build one agent, then another agent, then another agent, and then you bring that on a master to orchestrate them all together, right? So you can still do that, right? But if you have lot of interchange happening and paths crossing each other, it becomes super complex in low-code, and that's where we take the route of coded agents. Now you can ask your question again. Yeah. Yeah.
So from the organization perspective, or leadership perspective, where do we draw the line on like where do we not let agents in the
Yeah. So this is a really interesting question. Autonomy differs based on organization rules and policy, right? What is autonomy mean for a media or logistic company may not hold true for a banking organization, right? So it all depends, and boiled down to the same problem that I talked, is still we are not able to set a right set of governance where you have to define what can be done with the help of agent and what cannot be done with the help of agent, right? Technically, it's possible to do anything, right? Because we have lot of large Excel models coming every day, lot of bigger models are coming. So we should be able to solve any challenge that exists today on paper in terms of business processing. But are we equipped enough that it will not do disastrous, or maybe wrongdoing in ethics of the business or when solving the business problem? So that's not the change that you have to do in a code, but that's the change you have to do in a governance. What is to be allowed, how you can make a better guideline, what are ops policies you have, where you can, and in logistic industry, you should be able to run a code on sandbox, and it can post data anything outside the world. But if you talk about the Manoj, he cannot use even the JetGPT in the production environment. So it depends from the organization to organization. So it's all boiled down to the governance that you have to set. Now, so that please scan this code. Yeah, you can scan this code and make sure you have fastest finger first. So, okay.
Hello.
One more question, please.
Yes. So problem right now what I'm facing is that I am building the solution using the UiPath Studio, basically the process, and I have a Windows machine. So whenever I build the solution, and suppose that there is any activity so they say, I'm syncing the same code onto my VMware Windows machine, and I'm adding the activities. The moment I add any activities, for example, like execute macro, it's not there in the UiPath Studio. The compatibility changes as soon as I add the activity. So how to
Yeah, not able to make. Yeah.
so I am using UiPath Studio for building the cross and I have a VMware where my Windows machine is there. I'm thinking the moment I add any activity which is not there in UiPath Studio where my compatibility changes from cross platform to Windows. So how to change the compatibility
That's number one, right? And there are some fallbacks as well. So whenever we have, say for example, we have activity, let's say example of Azure activity, we have 2.7.6, right? And it does not support the cross-platform, it will fall down to the lowest available node, lowest node level or highest available. So in your case, it looks like some platforms to be very fair. Ideally, it should for them. Should not the case that not for them. So what is happening, I request you to raise a support ticket for this. This should solve. This is how it is intended to design to work. It is not working to prove that platform. Couple of questions. So let's currently move to this first question. So we have got only 64. We have got more than 90 people. Menti code is 7442 922. This code is 747742. No, go to menti.com. Open in the browser. Open menti.com and use this code 7442 922. All done? Okay. So now we are starting the quiz. Okay, so
On is to fold, not screen.
So here comes the first question. Again, this is fastest. Okay. What is UiPath screen take? First question. And your options are, you can read it. People have answered correctly. Correctly. Deepak did the right job, I guess. So let's see the little code here. Guys, please make sure you put the right name here. Okay, who is any droid? And who is SHBT? Wow. Great. So Atul is reading. Next question here is. Now people can say this. Which of the following is the key advantage of screenplay over traditional automation? And your options are